I call this Town of Adams Board of Selectmen's meeting to order, Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. The Board of Selectmen meetings are recorded and televised live on Northern Berkshire Community Television, Channel 1303. If there's anyone in the audience who plans on recording part or all of this meeting, please inform the chair. And it does not appear anyone's going to be. All right. Next is Pledge of Allegiance. Could everyone please stand and join the board in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda is public comment. Anyone from the audience who would like to address the Board of Selectmen with any topic? All right, seems to be, that's good. Moving on to new business. The first item A, Superintendent Dean indicated that he is running late. He should be here by 6:15. So what the board's going to do is, without anybody's objection, we're going to move on to B, review and approval of street number and name change from 125 East Hoosick Street to 1 Country Road. And I'll hand it over to the acting town administrator for a summary.
So the owners of currently 125 East Hoosick Road have asked for an address change. Their current residence actually faces Country Road, and they are having some difficulty receiving mail. They're also very concerned about the ability of first responders to find their house if needed. So the code enforcement officer did check the dwelling and the street to see if this would meet. So the dwelling is located on a lot with the first 100 feet of the property on Country Road, which would indicate that the house number and the new number for the dwelling be 1 Country Road. So he has approved this, and now the Board of Selectmen has to approve.
Okay, so the date of submittal, or the beginning of this process, November 18th of this year. The property owner is Travis E. Perot, 125 East Hoosick Street, as Holly has mentioned. Change it to 1 Country Road. We did have David Reinmiller, the Office of Inspection Services. This is his summary that's been provided. After hearing from the property owner, Mr. Perot, and he had some findings listed here, and according to him, finding no legitimate reason why this request is to be denied. So the Mr. Reinmiller is in favor of the street number and name change. Okay, open up to the board for discussion.
No, I'd just like to say that that house on Country Road, the front that used to be the old Butterfield house.
Okay.
And yeah, the front door is on Country Road without a doubt, in my opinion.
Okay. Anyone else from the board? Okay, anyone from the audience? What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we approve the street number and name change from 125 East Hoosick Street to 1 Country Road.
Okay, and that would be for Travis E.
For
Perot.
Travis E. Perot.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Christine. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, unanimous decision. All right, next we have item C, review and approval of 2026 dog licensing. Holly, anything to start things off?
So we have Haley Meswar here. Can I give it to her?
Sure.
Okay, it's that time of year again where the Board of Selectmen needs to set the dog license fees for the upcoming licensing period. Our licensing period actually runs from April 1st until March 31st, but we do like to include an application in with the annual census that will be getting mailed out the beginning of January. So that's why we're here tonight, so that once these are approved, we can get the application all set and ready to go. I'm not recommending any additional increases. I'm just recommending that we maintain them the same as we have in the past.
Okay, discussion from the board.
Yeah, I concur with you of keeping the rates as they are, because if you bring them up, people might not just pay.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, what is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we approve the permit prices for dog licensing for 2026 as stated, the current fees. You want me to read them?
I can read them
Yeah,
if
if
you'd
you don't
like to.
mind, thank you.
Sure. A female dog not spayed and a male dog not neutered is $20. Female dog spayed and male dog neutered is $10. A multi-dog license is for 4 dogs is $30. Multi-dog for 10 is $50, and the multi-dog for 25 dogs is $100. Boarding fees are $25. Disposition is $50. Pickup fees is $20. Late fee is the $10. Dog replacement tag is $1. And then our kennel licenses, which we currently don't have any kennel licenses, but 10 or less is $100. 20 or less is $200. 30 or less is $300. And then anything over would be an additional $10 per dog.
Okay, we have a motion by Ann. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Christine. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous decision. Thank you. Bill?
You're welcome. Just so that the board does know, and anybody who's watching at home, we are in the process of trying to work with City Hall systems, similar to what we did for vital records, where you can order them online. We were expected to have a meeting today, but that was canceled, to work with them to hopefully get it up and running for the new licensing period, that people will be able to do it online. So we're moving up a little bit. We're, making it a little more friendly with the internet.
Sounds good.
you.
Thank you, Haley. All right, moving on. All right, the Berkshire Eagle will be taping this meeting. All right, item E under new business, update on improving pedestrian safety on Park Street. Holly?
So this process began back in May under Eamon Coughlin, the then Director of Community Development. The Federal Highway Administration guidelines were consulted to assess appropriate pedestrian facility enhancements on Park Street in the vicinity of the Adams Town Hall. Based on the findings, rectangular rapid flashing beacons will be installed at the marked crosswalk on Park Street in both directions. This decision was based on speed, number of lanes, and annual average daily traffic. Engineering judgment was also used to assess these locations. This location is one of the town's most well-used mid-block crossings, as it provides a pedestrian connection to Armory Court, which gives us access to public space and alleyways that connect Park Street to the nearby public parking on Depot Street and at the Adams Visitor Center, as well as the Ashawiltook Rail Trail. The installation of these signs will begin in December.
All right, discussion from the board.
Yeah, where are we looking at this?
If you go out the building and down to the sidewalk, the
Yep.
very first crosswalk to your
Okay,
left. which
Okay, it's
goes-
already a crosswalk, but they're gonna
Yes.
enhance it with lights.
Flashing lights that when you press the button, they will come on so that pedestrians can cross the street with a little bit more awareness that there's someone there.
Yeah,
Perfect.
All right, so there's no vote on this, right? Yep. It's been in the works for a while. Eamon started this process, and finally, at this point, it's wrapping up and ready to be implemented.
That's great.
All right, so we're going to jump back to Dan Doyle, just in time, Dan. Dan's going to have an information update on the Greylock Glen Outdoor Center, and Doyle, the Director of the Outdoor Center.
Do you want me to turn this on?
It's on
Good? All right.
TV.
I'm glad I beat Aaron, anyway. Thank you all for your patience in getting to this point. I know we've tried to do this a couple of times before, and I've kept asking you to push it back, so I'm glad we're doing it while it's still calendar year 2025, which is not much longer. I probably shouldn't start with next steps, should I? So I've got a quick outline of the last few months of what we've been doing up there, what I've been doing up there, and wanted to go through some of that, and then just some learnings I've had so far, and then open it up to questions that you all may have, or anyone here as well. Some of my initial early goals in this role, besides what was given to me by Donna and the board as initial tasks, was to listen and learn, both from staff here in the town of Adams, from select board members, but from the community at large, stakeholders, partners in the county, in the town, in the region. I've done a lot of that, still continue to do a lot of that, and I think that's probably for the first year going to be the most important thing that I do in this role. And it's not just learning the position and the Glen, but it's also learning and relearning the town as an adult and a professional in a very different capacity than I was when I lived here previously. I've attempted and will continue to do more so over the time to understand the history of the Glen, of the developments of this particular project that we're in the beginning phases of right now, and getting a better handle on the potential next steps for the space, for the Glen as a whole, and for the community, before we start moving forward, getting a sense of that history and what got us to this point, a better, stronger sense, and learning that firsthand from primary documents as much as possible, not just he said, she said, because that's important, and I get a lot of that, but sometimes it's conflicting information. I've worked another couple of initial goals were to implement some systems and policies for efficiency up at the Glen. We have a limited budget and limited capacity, which makes it more important to waste nothing, especially our time. And there's a lot to do. And so putting in some systems in place that weren't previous in place, whether it's working through the volunteer management process or the usage of the space through private events or programming of our own, it takes time to put those systems in place and understand and adopt them. There he is. But they will help with time management and getting things done more quickly and efficiently moving forward. So a lot of time is spent doing some of those things that I'll talk about in a minute early on, and again, we'll continue to do in the next few months and throughout the first year. And another final sort of initial goal I had for myself was to fill the building. Short term, long term, think about what that means, explore different possibilities. Every day, I think I probably shared the sentiment that many of you felt and many community members felt when you walk in the building in June when I was visiting my family or any other point in time, and you look around at how beautiful it is and you see all the potential, and then the first question is inevitably, what do you do? What's going to happen here? And it's a lot of potential and expectations and maybe promises, but a lot of empty space. And so thinking about how we can do that creatively in the short term, intentionally in the long term, has been a big goal, continues to be a big goal, experimented a little bit. I'll talk about some of that in a moment already, and we'll continue to do that over the first year and moving forward. But how do we get that empty space filled with activity, and how we can use it, and then use it for different purposes and different constituencies and different stakeholders. Before I get into sort of updates on programs, I wanted to talk about our volunteers. Big thank you, I guess initially, that was one of the very first things I did up there was participated in a pre-organized potluck. That was very good timing because it was the week I started. So I was thankful to be able to go to that and introduce myself. I don't know, Marilyn's one of our longest term volunteers here. She might be able to share more later if she wants to, but I think the general purpose of that potluck, which was organized way before I was hired, was there was a lot of issues that volunteers were identifying that they wanted to talk about and sort of think through and work out together. And suddenly there was a person standing in front of them that said, give me your ideas, give me your issues, give me your problems, we'll try to fix it for you. So not only did we have an introductory meeting and a lot of Q&A and feedback in that first potluck meeting, but I also gave a survey to them with a bunch of questions. Some of you actually filled it out yourselves. Asking things like what is working up here, what is not working, what have been the most common questions you're getting that you don't have answers to or you want more consistent information about, general feedback, general thoughts, concerns, ideas, and got a lot of great information from some of the people that have been using the building and occupying the building and being our ambassadors in the building for the better part of the past year since the building's been open. Those two things were incredibly helpful, the potluck conversation I had and the survey. We identified some key needs coming out of that I addressed in different ways. There was a need for structure. It was very informal. Most volunteers sort of implemented their own structures independently of each other. Sometimes those conflicted with one another. They were getting a lot of the same questions or having a lot of the same questions, so I was then now getting a lot of the same questions from volunteers and visitors. You can streamline a lot of that in a handbook that we didn't really have previously. It was a page-and-a-half piece of paper, but now we went from under 2 to over 20 pages, and a lot of that is just answers to questions that were repeatedly asked by visitors or of me by volunteers. This way we have answers that they can access at any point in time, thoughtful over the past month and a half, with a lot of feedback from others and volunteers themselves and what that should look like. So getting that handbook put together, I think, was very important early on, and I'm glad we have that now. They were asking for not just accurate information in the form of the handbook, but also clear policies and procedures, and consistent communication. So I've started early on, and for the most part have been consistent with sending out Monday emails to all of our volunteers, not just these are the holes we need filled for shifts, but also these are the things that are going on this week, this month. These are the updates and changes, whether to the building hours or new policies or just things we're considering and thinking about. I think that's been helpful. It's given them more ownership and understanding of what's going on and feeling like they're a part of it rather than just there and not knowing what's going on. Training and support was another big one that came up a lot that they want. So the handbook I coupled with a series of orientations, which felt a little odd for people that have been working in Maryland and others' case for over a year up there already, but it was an orientation to a new system of doing things, mostly the same system that had existed, just articulated and spelled out a little bit more clearly. But some changes and some important changes that I wanted to go through with everybody together at once. I think that was helpful. We hope to do more of those. I'm working with a retired physician from Williamstown, Dr. Parkinson right now, Jim Parkinson, who's volunteered to put together a series of trainings monthly for our volunteers and any other volunteers in the town of Adams that want to participate, probably beginning in late January, on things like CPR and AED training, which we have AED equipment up at the Glen, but myself included, no one knows how to use it. Basic first aid, wilderness response, a lot of trainings that him or other physicians that he knows, he's on the board of the emergency response team of the Northern Berkshire Community, I may be getting that wrong, but something like that he can pull some of them in as we needed and get some of that training and support that our volunteers have articulated they need and want so that they can respond to different situations better moving forward. And then the last thing, which I struggle with a little bit for myself and in general, which is why I started with thank you, is they wanted to feel appreciated. I'm glad I saw in your agenda tonight that there is some form of appreciation happening to volunteers from the board. I think that's something we can all do better because many things in this town, including the Glen, have been carried on the backs of many volunteers and community members. So I'm super thankful for them. I want to figure out how to do that appreciation better and more intentionally, not just for our volunteers, but across the board. Another big initial first step that I think I addressed and changed for the better was we had a logbook up at the front desk. We had a lot of information at the front desk. It's a little less cluttered now than it was initially, but that told you where people were visiting from, and that was interesting information, but it doesn't necessarily help me. We were tallying the numbers and we were seeing where they were coming from and we were tracking all of that, but we weren't capturing any information that I could follow up with. So we basically didn't have email addresses or phone numbers, but email addresses are the big one. Created a form that now asks those things. I tried like heck to find a logbook that had email addresses. If you can find one, let me know, because that would be a little bit more professional than a piece of paper, but I created one in the meantime. And we went in just the last 3 months from less than 100 emails in our listserv, which had been used periodically. I think the last one was sent out in July, probably right before Mike stepped away. We've been now sending them out monthly, and in the month of October, for reasons I'll get to in a minute, weekly. But we went from less than 100 folks in our newsletter listserv to almost 600 now, just in 3 months, simply by putting that out there and putting a sign up on our website. We didn't have that previously. There was no way to sign up digitally. to our newsletter. Now there is. So that's grown exponentially as we've done things. That's attracted more people to the Glen. They're signing up. We're encouraging them to sign up. They're going to the website, which has also been updated and a little less cluttered than it was before, and I think more easy to navigate, directing people to things like the newsletter. And that's a way they can keep in touch, stay updated on what we're doing and when we're doing it. So as we do more, the people that are already coming to us are the first to hear about it. And then social media as well. So September and October, and I don't know, feel free to interrupt if you have any questions as I go. I'm going to try to go quick because I know there's a lot. There's a long agenda. September and October, and then I clustered November, December together. You know, a lot of these things that happen in 1 month don't just get planned in that 1 month, so it's coupled. You know, I've been working on things for January, February, and March since it started in August. And I'll talk a little bit about what's to come, but generally speaking, September and October, we had a lot of activity. Those are for the Glen Center, always our busiest months from what I understand. That's fall foliage season. People are coming to the Berkshires from other places. They're looking for something to do. It was really great for me to see in the first few weeks and months being up there, all these faces from out of town walking in the front door, and familiar faces as well, which was also great. But visitors from all over the place, all over the country, all over the world, coming to the Berkshires for fall foliage or just in general. And they're going to Tanglewood, and they're going to Clark, and they're going to Massamoka, and now they're coming to Adams and going to the Glen Center. And they're asking, what do you do here, right? We have some answers now, which we didn't really have before, other than you can rent it out for a private event. Or we have some ideas that may happen one day. So I wanted to capture that as quickly as possible, especially in October when it's really at its peak. I was thankful that I was able to, off the cuff and a little ad hoc, throw together a couple of things. Well, let me start first with things that I inherited or just sort of happened in addition and separate from what we put on programming-wise. In the months of September and October, we partnered with BEAT, the Berkshire Environmental Action Team, on their annual Biodiversity Day. I don't have the exact numbers, but they do a BioBlitz where they send naturalists and scientists out into wherever they are, which was the Glen this year, and document numbers of species of flora and fauna, amphibians, insects, birds, plants, mushrooms, and they got more diversity there than they had at any other previous BioBlitz before, which was really cool and really fun to be a part of and experience. And all we had to do for that was to say yes. It was also cool for me to see how that building operates as sort of an event space, and not event space, conference space, where there's breakout sessions and workshop rooms and presenters happening all concurrently. It was really neat to see and something I would like to do more of down the road. We worked with the Thunderbolt Ski Runners on their Greylock Go-Around, their annual mountain bike race, which was phenomenal and something that I think can continue to grow, as well as so many other outdoor recreational opportunities, whether it's them or someone else or us doing it. Albeit a little reluctantly and naively, we allowed McKay and Huzik and Jury to have their homecoming photos up at the Glen. When I first said yes to that, I thought I was saying yes to just a couple of families that asked. It ended up being the whole class in each case, which they're small, thankfully, but when you add in grandparents, parents, and kids, it's a lot of kids, a lot of people, a lot of activity. So Carol was up there for one of those. We may want to rethink that moving forward, but it was chaotic, but I'm glad for the kids they got to do that. And one of them was in the middle of our fireside chat, so Joe had to play bouncer for a little while and make sure those two things somehow coexisted peacefully, which they did. Until that moment, I didn't know how well the windows prevented sound from carrying through. Now we know pretty darn well if you shut the door. So a lot of these first few months, for me anyways, was experimenting with different logistics and different things. We hosted, thanks to Christine, a couple of really fun events, the MMA Leadership Development Training throughout the month of October. Each Wednesday they were there all day. Mayor's Municipal Association, am I saying that right?
No, was the mayor's group there too?
Yeah.
Okay, because there was.
And then there was also
County.
the Berkshire County Municipal's Officials Networking Meeting. Also a really fun event. Northern Berkshire School Collaborative with Carol had their first initial meeting up at the Glen. We hosted, again, her community roundtable during this time. We had a surprise Mass Department of Environmental Protection meeting. From what I understand, they're every 5 years. We got one the first year. For me, my first month, that's when I found out I'm responsible for the water system up there, and got debriefed over the course of a week from our engineers and learned a lot about water towers and logistics and other things that I've been learning even more about this past week and figuring out, fortunately today, what that problem was. The plug wasn't in, basically. What else? So I guess that gets to what we did. And so from the beginning of being up there, I wanted to experiment a little bit with some of our own programming. What would that look like? It's a bit odd for a town employee to be filling this role, but I think it's important for the Glenn Center to be doing some of its own programming and seeing what the potentials could be. That could be farmed out to somebody else over time or contracted out to somebody else over time, but it wasn't happening presently. I don't see it happening in the near future, and these are things that we can do now to make sure there's activity and partnerships and events and things happening right now for the community and for others. So I wanted to experiment with what that might look like. It's something that Glenn hasn't done yet, and I wanted to work out a lot of questions I had by learning and doing, which to me is one of the best ways to learn. First thing we did was work with DPW to get the overflow parking lot finished. I drove in and I was pointed that's where overflow is, and I said there's no way any car, including a truck, can get to that. It was a pretty sizable dip in, just something that hadn't been done yet. So Tim was great to come up and do that almost immediately for us. Got a culvert put in and some stone in for grading, stone and dirt, so now people can access that. I didn't know if we'd need it in October. I hoped we did when we started doing some things, and it turns out we did. And we filled that overflow parking every weekend in October to its capacity, which was surprising but also amazing. I wanted to learn the space. I didn't know what it would be like for sound and acoustics, depending on different types of music and musicians in different spaces. I didn't know what our traffic flows and parking situations were going to look like inside and outside the building. Traffic flow meaning inside and outside. I didn't know how food service was going to work. It's one thing to have a private event where people are coming up and getting food or getting served, but to actually have food service where people are ordering and being served. And I also didn't know if people would come and actually eat if there was an opportunity to do so. So we wanted to experiment with all those different things. I wanted to work through the town's process of permitting, licensing, contracting, which I'm still navigating and figuring out. But that was really helpful for me to go through having to do it myself and think through some of these things that I'm still thinking through. It allowed me an opportunity to do some preliminary baseline marketing for the Glen and the Glen Center. I was forced in that situation to get our access to our social media accounts and figure out how to clean those up and make those more usable and accessible and useful. Same thing with the newsletter, same thing with the website, flyers around town. We have some spots. I now know where they are, and I hung some up, and I had additional ideas, and that was just in Adams, let alone North Adams, Williamstown, or other communities nearby. Those initial events were expected to and did help me see what sort of numbers we could get from the community and from elsewhere when we did something other than just exist. And it was helpful to do it in what we knew would already be some of our busiest weekends during peak fall foliage. So I could have done it in November, but I wanted to do it in October, and I rushed some things because of that. I'm glad we did, but some balls were dropped that I'm still trying to pick up, so I apologize. Lots of emails and lots of communications. I'll get back to people, I promise. I had hoped for all weekends in October, but ended up just getting the last 3 because we weren't able to get it all together for that first weekend. One of my goals was to spend no money for this, and we did. We didn't spend a dime on any of these events. Anything we had to spend money on, we got sponsorships for. It started with Ramble Weekend and partnering with Ramble Fest, which was another big goal. This is happening. We didn't have great weather. If we had, it would have been even bigger, but I wanted to capitalize on that and also be a meaningful partner to Pro Adams and what they do downtown. And again, not just exist, but actually do something that can support and complement what they're already doing. So what we did do those 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, was we had live music in the atrium, 2 different musicians each day, paid for by sponsors. We had, with a sound system, the Town of Adams sound system that is used for the movies out on the lawn, which was sitting at the Council of Aging, and Sarah said, take it away. So now we have it in our closet. I had to learn how to use it because no one else knew how to use it. That took a little bit of time in figuring out, but it's a pretty good sound system. We partnered with Anahata Schoolhouse to provide free community yoga those 3 days. We worked with the Friends of the Glen to write a script for a guided hike around the Meadow Loop Trail and point out both some of the things that you see, the flora, the fauna, the natural history of the area, but also some of the social history of the Glen through that process that we'd like to eventually turn into a self-guided tour with markers along the trail that people can do on their own. That was really fun to do, and I led some of those hikes to learn what we were missing, because there's a lot of good questions. Most importantly, I think we provided food service over those 3 days. We had a different restaurant doing a pop-up each weekend. I let them determine the hours in the menu. They were roughly 10 to 3 or 4 each weekend, or each day, and then presumably also each weekend. We partnered with the Lever organization. They're not an organization, but the Lever Collaborative on a woodcraft showcase on Sunday, which was the in-between day of the Ramble and Ramble Fest, which was really good timing. It was also the nicest day that weekend. And we hosted our 1-year anniversary at the center on Sunday night with a fireside chat to talk about the past, present, and future of the Glen. Joe, I did want to say one thing about that quickly. I love you, and I love how you're always putting the Glen and conservation and the least of us at the front of what you're representing. But one thing I wanted to point out, because I do think it matters, is while you were the only person at the fireside chat from the select board, every single select board member was at some event that weekend at the Glen. It might not have been that one, but they were there and was present throughout the month of October and other months at different events. And considering how quickly I threw all of this together and the limited communications I had, I found out just a couple weeks ago that we have a town listserv that I could access. I didn't even know that existed. It makes sense, I should have asked, but I didn't even know how to email the town staff prior to November. And so, getting the word out, I guess one of the things I learned in this process was a testament to how desperate and excited people are about the Glen and what could happen up there. We didn't do any marketing or communications, hardly at all. We put up a few flyers the week of. We had some social media activity, which not everyone has access to, and that was it. And we had over 1,000 people each weekend in October at the Glen. More each weekend. Our slowest weekend was Ramble weekend. Not great weather, but also a lot going on. We were up to almost 2,000 people coming into that by the last weekend in October. I think it was 1,700 roughly. We didn't know that would happen. If we had been able to do more marketing, more communication, more getting the word out and letting people know that these things were happening, a lot of people learned after the fact, and one of the most common emails I got in November was, I wish I had known what you're doing in October. I said, well, we'll do better. We'll continue to learn. But if we could do these things with months of advertising, with flyers around the county, not just around the town, with more than a few days lead time, then I do think we'll see better representation across the community at these different events. To continue that momentum of Ramble Fest weekend, we had what we called End of Autumn Fall Fest, just something to call it, over the next 2 weekends in October. Couldn't continue to be Ramble, so we had to come up with something else, but it was the same model. It was hikes, it was community yoga, it was food service, it was live music, all of that free except for the food. We also partnered with Audubon. They did their Master Naturalist certification one day up there. The Thunderbolt Ski Runners hosted 2 trail days where they took volunteers out on the trails to get them ready for winter skiing, Nordic and backcountry downhill skiing. And the Northern Berkshire Astronomical Society held a skylight viewing, which is another cool thing. We didn't know how it would work with the parking lights, but because they're so energy efficient, the way I'm not going to say because I don't know wrong, but the luminescence, how bright they are, and the angle they're pointed down, it allowed them with their fancy telescopes to basically sit right next to the parking lot and still look up at the sky and see everything they wanted to see. And typically that wouldn't be possible in any parking lot situation because the lights are too bright. So that was neat, but that was also something we didn't know until we did it. I mentioned already that each weekend got better and grew over time with limited marking and short timeline. It just tells us that the potential is tremendous. And then I wanted to thank SBM and Adams Community Bank, who were our 2 sponsors for musicians and the little bit of resources that we needed to do all of that. All right, November and December is a lot shorter. We had limited programming, basically nothing, in these months intentionally because we were getting our solar panels installed. We are getting our solar panels installed. The first phase, the infrastructure building, was completed by the end of the month in November. We're now in the second phase, which they're wiring them. They're putting the electrical conduits and lines and plugging everything in. They've been up there every day, digging lines. Adams Excavating's working up there with them, with Select. Even in the snow, they were there today, out in the ground. Until it freezes, they can keep working on it. They hope to get that done by the end of the month, fingers crossed, which will allow us to do programming that would warrant more parking spaces than we currently have because they're occupying most of that with construction equipment going into the new year, and that's the goal. We adjusted hours in November and December a little bit from October. constricted a little bit from 8 to 6 down to 10 to 5, possibly could have even done 10 to 4, but the trails are still open dawn to dusk. I've been taking some of this time in post-programming learnings to sort of reevaluate the costs and the terms of private events and how they fit into our own programming. I probably get 5 to 10 emails and phone calls a day just about private events. Not all of them manifest in actual contracts or events, but just questions. And some of those end up being 10 phone calls or 10 emails and nothing at the other end of it. Depends on the person and depends on how well they listen or pay attention. Eventually, I hope to have all the information up on the website, and then that takes that number down to a much smaller, manageable number. That's part of the efficiencies of the systems and things in place. But what we had previously just wasn't working, so I needed to update that and adjust it, and hopefully soon we'll have that and able to really look forward. But how it fits with our own programming is something I'm not entirely sure and still thinking through. I mentioned how I'm currently thinking about what we're going to be doing in the spring and summer and fall. I hope we're doing environmental education with Audubon and/or other partners and/or ourselves to some degree, some variation of that. But if someone asked me to have a wedding at the Glen on Saturday, June 27th, are we going to have kids up there doing stuff? I don't know. So it's important to think through the full year of what the possibilities are. It's also really hard when you have no budget for that. I'm not asking for money. I've written some grants and will continue to do so, but just planning and thinking about what this space could be used for and how private events fit into that is something that I've been spending a lot of time these 2 months doing. And 2 more big updates just over the last week. We were able to get a 1937 Steinway grand piano donated from the Berkshire Music School, which is kind of a neat tie to the history of the Greylock Glen. One of the families, one of the original, not original, but one of the farm families up at the Glen, the Watusiaks, their grandson, the last Watusiak that lived there's grandson is Jim Watazik. I think I said those both right, who is the assistant director of the Berkshire Music School and one of the musicians who played at the Glen in October. Not only did they facilitate the donation of the Steinway, which is a $30,000 to $60,000 piano, depending on the quality and the condition and who's buying it, but it's in very good condition. They also paid for, because I told them I'll take it, but I don't have any money for it, so it's who's going to pay for the moving, who's going to pay for the tuning and refurbishing, and they said we will. So the Watusiak family, Jim's son, so the great-grandson of the last ones to be farming that land, covered the cost of transportation, refurbishing, and tuning. So that was pretty tremendous and pretty neat tie to the full story. The only thing we'll probably pay for at some point is a small plaque acknowledging and recognizing that their generosity. The other exciting sort of evolution up there in the last week was a local artist who lives in Stamford, Vermont, who does woodworking, reached out through one of our volunteers and was interested in donating a black bear that he had carved out of wood. I drove over to Vermont one weekend to take a look at it, was very impressed with both him and his shop and what he could do, and talked about a lot of other things down the road that we may do together, but initially the bear was beautiful. I thought it would be a great addition to our exhibit hall, and within a week he showed up with a bunch of friends and moved it in. So during the month of December, we've just launched and hopefully we'll be able to put out in the schools. I talked to Bart today and hopefully do Huzik and McCann and some others next week. I named the bear contest to get the kids involved and the community involved, and I've already got probably about 45 emails, thank you, just today from people with names, a lot of them the same name, of what our bear could be. So that was kind of neat and exciting. We also already have 17 people who can play the piano in 24 hours that have emailed and said, I'd love to play, some of which are volunteering to do it for free. That was pretty exciting as too, because I didn't know if that would ever be used or who would we find, and I had a gut that we could and would, and it seems like that so far is to...
Have you heard from Christine Hoy?
No,
She has not emailed me yet.
no. And Jim Watazik also
Some of
asked me if I'm going to go up
pianists
there
are
and
sending
play.
me YouTube links of past concerts they've performed in.
Yeah, no, I don't have any of those.
But listen, no judgment. We're happy to have
8
everyone.
lessons under my belt. I'm not ready.
Bring it. Come on. You can have the 10 to 11 slot. It's our slowest time.
Do 11 PM? That sounds great.
So, other than those things, in the last 16 weeks, which has been roughly 80 workdays, if you only count the weekdays, which is, we know the Glen's busiest on the weekends, so that's really not true if we just count the weekdays. I've had over 300 scheduled meetings over those 80 workdays, many with important stakeholders in the community and the region. That does not include unplanned visitors and meetings, which are constant up at the Glen and are welcomed and usually really helpful, not always. A small side thing I've been involved with was chairing the OSRP committee, which has been really fun to hear people's ideas through the surveys, through the forums that we've had about what the town residents think we need or don't need in open space, rec, ag land, more holistically, which I think is really important to think not just through the lens of the Glen, but how the Glen fits into a larger plan for the town as a whole. So that was a good timing for me to be part of that and be able to participate in that with our other committee members. I've had some pretty big learning curves, like the water system.
Yeah, Dan, I was wondering if we could begin discussion with the board.
Okay.
And the question that Joe had brought up last meeting is the water tower and the pump station at the bottom of the hill. And we just had DEP here for an inspection 3 to 4 weeks ago. So if you could take a minute and go over the company and the individual, or
Yeah.
what you're aware of in regards to the water and the water tower up there.
So you're responding to my saying this, I have a pretty big learning curve on this. So
Yeah.
I'm still learning.
Right.
But I learned a lot that week
But
and I
we
learned a
do-
lot this week.
Right, we do have a company that monitors the water.
We do. Hoosick River Basin
Right.
out of Pittsfield, I think they are, maybe further, maybe Great Barrington. And I know the person that works for them better than I know the organization as a whole. There's probably more about all of this that I don't know than I do. This water system being the
That's
key
fine, that's
part.
fine, understood.
And you probably know, some of you know more than I do as well. From my understanding, that the water district or fire district's jurisdiction ends at the pump house at the bottom of Gould Road. The town, or me, begins after that. There's a lot after that to consider, including a brand-new multi-million-dollar water tower with a lot of equipment and meters and readings and things. We have Logan and Housatonic Basin group monitoring water quality and sampling, but not necessarily fixing or troubleshooting infrastructure things. So they may catch some things that could go wrong with it, or they may not. There's probably things that I should be monitoring that I hope in time to figure out what those are and how to do that. Wright Pierce, the engineers who built it
Yes.
for us,
Yeah.
are very quick to help with that, but also not their responsibility either. They're just willing to do it because they care about the project and have a lot of time and energy invested in seeing it succeed. So helping me set up some of those systems and processes for that specifically, and making sure that we have some sort of system, whether it's Bob Wojcik or myself, monitoring these things and checking certain things and having certain readings that maybe Logan and Housatonic isn't. That goes beyond water quality. That's the functioning of the system, which is sort of what the issue was this week. Beyond that, let's see, what else is there?
Well, the DEP was up and they did an inspection and I believe it passed, or they had.
Yeah,
actions.
there was, from my understanding and what we debriefed on after the fact, was that they never come in and don't suggest anything.
Right.
They always say, these are some things that you have to do differently. The things that we had to do differently were incredibly minor. There's like one manhole that the plugs were missing. We replaced that the next day. And that was just an issue with potential silt or water getting down through the manhole. We had one hydrant that didn't have a lock on it. We fixed that the next day. There were several very small things. There was some other things that I didn't quite understand, but that were more Housatonic and Wright Pierce solutions, but were also super minor things that they needed to address that could be done and have been done within the first month. I don't think we've gotten like the full report approval back from DEP yet, but there was no indication. They were great to work with. He was excited to talk through the whole process. I was, despite my begrudging acknowledgement of the learning curve, I was glad to be able to be forced in the position to have to learn all that. I like learning new things, and I'd rather do it sooner rather than later, or when there isn't a problem, so that I know more when problems happen. Any specific questions about?
What we'll do is the board will go through our questions, and we have some discussion from there.
Can I take 2 more minutes?
Oh, yeah, sure.
My-
You got a
my
couple of
last little
things? I was
bit,
gonna-
yeah.
At the end, or right now is fine, too.
Because I might cover some things that might
Sure,
be
that
asked.
could answer some
So like,
questions.
what I have left is just a few things, next steps,
Sure.
priorities, what I've learned. A big thing we need to continue to focus on and figure out, and I have some ideas on, but we haven't done yet, is signage and connectivity. That's across the board, in the building, on the trails, on the mountain, in town, to town, from town to the Glen, from the Glen to the town. A lot of work to do there. Something we're working on. Programming into the new year, I mentioned that quickly a little bit, what that looks like, how food service is incorporated into that, whether it's a full set-aside restaurant that we contract with or something different. For all ages, coordinate better with DCR and Bascom programs, Audubon to some degree too. They're all doing programs at the Glen in different ways. How do we make those sync with what we're doing, or at least with each other? I want to explore a lot of partnerships that I've just started, including with the public library. We've talked a lot about different things. You all can be the first to hear tonight that we now well, Jay might know a little bit already. We're going to be working with the Adams Lions Club and Pro Adams to host the same Santa and Mrs. Claus that were at the tree lighting up at the Glen on December 13th, either in the morning or afternoon. We haven't set the time yet. We're getting a Christmas tree tomorrow donated from Whitney's that we're going to have in the front window, which will be really beautiful. Pro Adams has donated money to decorate the tree and light it, as well as have some activities for kids on that Santa Day. And Adams Lions Club will be doing candy bags and cocoa. So that's exciting. That's the only thing we're doing in December. I'm a little bit nervous about the parking situation, but we'll figure it out. I want to think more intentionally now about what our role is in Ramblefest and, more importantly, Thunderfest in February, and how we work with Pro Adams on those 2 events, but also largely in general. I want to think really proactively, and have been in conversation with the Thunderbolt ski runners, and how we work with them and DCR on trail maintenance and outdoor recreational events on the mountain, and really come out in the spring, summer, and fall swinging on all those fronts. I want to think more concertedly about environmental education with partners like Audubon, BEAT, blanking on what I was going to say, but there's a few other organizations I've been talking about, as well as internships that will feed into those environmental education programs with local high schools and colleges. BCC, MCLA, and Williams. I've been talking to all 3 already about that, and pretty sure we're going to be able to have that in place for the spring semester, at least the internships. Those could lead to more intentional educational programs. I talked about private events, how we can better market ourselves as a venue for things, but also do those better and more supportive of what the Glen can be and the town of Adams needs it to be. We're working out currently with Kelly and Ashley how we can have items for sale at the Glen on behalf of the town. Specifically, right now, we're looking at the Black Bear coffee mugs and Boys of Bob's Hill books. Broader Glen development is something is a priority and next step, and looking forward to think more collaboratively about with community development and what the next phases of the Glen development look like, from cabins and campgrounds to amphitheater and lodge. And also coming out, hopefully, at the beginning of the new year with plans for what an advisory committee might look like, town forums might look like, and an NGO foundation partner organization to the Glen Center might look like. That's also part of my excitement around my first rodeo with the budget setting process, and what we can expect for, or what we need and what we can do creatively to get the things we need up at the Glen moving forward and grow mindfully but not exponentially and not unnecessarily. It's been a lot. There's plenty I've probably left off in the last 3 months, and far more than we realistically have staff or resources to do. But it's also incredibly exciting for the town, for me, for the county. And I can feel the energy of possibility up there from people that are coming in the door just for being there myself. The mountain is really magical, the town is really special, and there's so much potential to do so many things that some of which we're just beginning to realize. But it will take a lot of work and time, and something that I'm not really good at is patience. And so it's helpful for me to say I have to ask for other people to be patient with me in all of these things that we're trying to do. because I'm also trying to ask that of myself and be more realistic. But it takes a foundation, it takes a lot of time to build a strong foundation to grow out from, and that building and that mountain is a really great place to work out from. If I owe you an email and a phone call, this is anyone listening, and I apologize, I will get back to you. It's been really difficult to keep up with all of that. I do welcome any board members or community members to come visit for feedback. After 3 months up there, I'm even more sure now than I was when I first started that we can turn this into something truly amazing for the Glen and for the community, with a balance of conservation and economic development that capitalizes on the amazing natural resources and assets that we have at the Glen in our backyard without compromising them in the process. I'm even now more sure now than I was at the beginning of that, and our ability to be able to support downtown and the rest of the community, not just do something that's good for the Glen, but good for all of us, and be another anchor in the Berkshires around environmental conservation and outdoor recreation that supports and builds upon the arts and cultural base that we already have. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to do this and to be here and to think through and work through this together. And I'm excited to work with our new town administrator in January, which I think is going to make some things move a little quicker, hopefully. And I have a lot of gratitude for Holly and Ken in the interim that have helped keep things moving and keep things going. As there's transition, inevitably some things slow down, and that's been hard for me to be patient with, but it's a process that we're all working through. Thanks. Now I'm ready.
All right, Danny, thank you for that update. Really appreciate that. We're going to just go down the board and we'll ask our questions and have a little discussion here, okay? We'll start with Ann.
I don't really have a question as much as I can say how many people I had come up to me during the month of October saying, oh my God, you wouldn't believe it, we did this, we were able to go up there, we had this, and I said, well, I can tell you from the first time I met him, I said I saw that he was going to have his feet on the ground and he was going to be running. And he was going to do what I thought was a good job, and they were all saying, yes, he is doing a good job, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Christine.
Dan, so you mentioned the hours have shifted, so 10 to 5 or 10 to 4, but what are the days that the center is open?
Good point. Wednesday through Sunday, same hours every day, 10 to 5.
Okay, and then with the holiday break coming up for schools and so forth, are there any days that you're going to be closed
Yeah,
for the
so what we're
holidays?
thinking right now, the same thing we did, and I'm figuring it out, but what
Yeah.
seemed to make sense over Thanksgiving break and probably over Christmas break. We could do it differently, but what we did over Thanksgiving, we're closed already Monday and Tuesday. It made sense to close Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. On one hand, on the other hand, it might make sense to be opened because people are home on school break and people are visiting family for the holidays, and the same thing's going to be the case in December. The tricky thing is, I think my opinion is we've put too much burden on volunteers to be managing too much responsibility. And, you know, if people are going up there in December, they're going to want the fire lit and running, they're going to want things happening. And if we just stay open with volunteers, it will be the bare minimum. I don't know if it's worth it. And so I kind of felt the same way over Thanksgiving, so we just shut down for the week. It gave Bob and I a time to take a deep breath. We either were off on the town holidays or we took time off ourselves. We didn't have anyone that felt like they had to be there to watch the building. It's a tough thing though, because it's similar so on the weekends when I decided Monday and Tuesdays were going to be the days we were closed, which just means I or someone needs to be up there Saturday and Sunday. And those are coincidentally the hardest days for me to find volunteers for, and have always been for Mike or Natasha when she was doing it previously, especially Saturdays. It's every week. There's some weekends where I have nobody on a Saturday. It's tough, but it's also our busiest day for people that want to come up and visit for the exact same reason, just the opposite side of the coin. So that holiday question is still something that's what I'm thinking right now, is we just be closed that week. But I'm open to reconsidering it. And it kind of, at some point, I think this is a bigger conversation that touches on a lot of other things and will hopefully be had through the budget setting process, but like, what does staffing that building actually look like meaningfully so that we're not reliant upon volunteers? Some things make sense to have volunteers for, others don't. And I don't love the idea of one volunteer being responsible for that entire building at any point in time. But right now, it's sort of a means to an end and all we have.
Thanks. I just ask that, whatever the schedule is, that it's broadcasted widely, so
Yeah, so,
people who are maybe home, are aware if it's gonna be open or not, and
So-
families will know.
I think we've done a good job. The way we're doing it right now, and tell me if I'm missing anything, is we already have our winter hours up, including Christmas, on the website. I did that December 1st, so it already says what our hours are that week. The social media, you can't easily change hours
Right.
without really screwing things up. So instead, what the typical process is, you just post something that week that if people are going there and look, their hours might say they're open, but there's a post that says we're closed such and such days. I've done that the week of Thanksgiving, and I would do that again in December. We have the newsletter that goes out and mentions any changes such as that. I said the website already, and then the front and back doors. That's not great. Like, that still leaves a lot of cracks that people are gonna fall through and not know. I don't know if there's any other way really, unless people are responsible enough themselves to go look at those things before they get up to the building, which people don't always do. And getting on the Google radar, right, and making sure, because for a while, people were Googling us, and without going to any of those locations, Google just says we're open all the time, every day, which we were at some point. So getting that fixed, I think it's resolved, so that that doesn't happen anymore, but some of that's out of our control, too.
Thanks.
All right, JMS.
All right. Well, Dan, I want to thank you for that comprehensive update on everything you've been doing up there. It seems like it's been quite the whirlwind over the last few months, but sounds like you've really done a lot of,
Had a lot of fun.
yeah, it sounds like you did a lot of work to get things kind of under control, and I like the idea of the policies and procedures in place, like that's really important for the handbook that you gave out. You're gonna get off easy tonight on my end. A lot of my questions are gonna come around budget time, I think, and I know that's something that you're
Yeah.
still working through
Yeah.
and working on, as well as you touched on the long-term strategy of what the plan is gonna be in place there. I think it's a discussion for another night, not necessarily this one, but I wanna thank you for all the work that you've put in up there. I'm gonna echo Ann's comments. A lot of the community members I've talked to have just been over the moon over the programming, especially up there now. Ramble Fest weekend, everything you had going on up there, and especially having vendors, especially local vendors up there for food service and local musicians. I think that brings a nice homely feel to what's been going on up there. So I want to thank you for all your work you've put in so far.
Thanks, it's been fun.
Dan, yeah, I appreciate your exuberance. You are certainly putting yourself into the position that we hired you for. I just want to say personally that I'm hoping in the near future that we can break at least even if we don't make any money for running that facility. Because,
That's my goal for Jay's conversation.
yeah,
That will be my goal in the budget setting, is to bring forward a proposal that does
right,
just that.
because, and I had spoken to you early on, I haven't spoken to you too much since, but you didn't seem keen about, like, Audubon coming in. You didn't like partnerships. You didn't,
Okay.
and
I'll let
you
say
felt
that.
uncomfortable with them from your past when you were in Mississippi getting with them because you felt once they got their foot in the building, they were part owners.
Not quite accurate, but are you ready?
No, I have some other questions. And with volunteers, if there's no employee for the town of Adams up there, does that put us in a liability position?
That's one of my questions, and that's come up recently because, so, to the private events point as well, if someone asks me to do an event in the evening one night, if I say yes, I'm basically agreeing to be there, because there's nobody else. And unless I have a volunteer do that, but that even makes less sense for a volunteer to be at a wedding or a reunion than it does for normal open hours, and is a liability issue, extremely so at that point. And so I've been exploring with a couple of off-duty police officers what that might look like, working into the costs of private rentals so that we could have a list of people that have law enforcement backgrounds that could potentially be up there for off hours, So I wouldn't have to be there. That could be responsible for locking and closing the building, for making sure rules and procedures and policies are followed and enforced, that they're out at the time they say they're going to be out, and it's cleaned up and all of those things. The question around that they're asking me is that I'm still figuring out is, are they covered by our insurance? Would they have to be covered under the events insurance? Like, that's that question, which has led me to be thinking, well, are our volunteers even covered? So I'm working through that right now.
Yeah, and
But yeah, it's a big,
like you said, we have a long agenda ahead of us, and so I'm just gonna, ask for just a, a quick.
Okay.
Like, with the DEP, I don't know the right parameters, how much water to use, but I know you have to have a water operator when you have a private system. There has to be someone overseeing it. In the past, we had like someone that Jay Green knew that came up there a few times to look at things. And could you look into that?
I could, and it may be the Housatonic Basin, they may be the ones, but I can find out for sure.
Yeah. And lastly, I want to thank the volunteers too, because without volunteers in this community, a lot of things certainly wouldn't get done. And I have other things, but once again, I'm not going to get long-winded, and so there.
Yeah, so real quick response as far as Audubon goes.
Yeah, please.
I love Audubon. I've worked with them extensively
Yeah.
all over the country. I have been very clearly informed that the National Audubon, which works in every other place except Connecticut and Massachusetts, is very different than Mass Audubon and Connecticut Audubon. And I found also that to be true now from experience. I've never worked with Mass Audubon. They're also very similar. What I said and what I feel and what has proven true in my communications with all the Audubon staff so far at the state level and at our local level in Pleasant Valley is that some of the things that I was being presented as Audubon was going to do seemed out of the box for what I knew Audubon typically does. And once I had those conversations with them, they reinforced that idea that it wasn't. They proposed a lot of things to us that we could do up at the Glen. There was a whole package suite of stuff. They weren't necessarily saying they were going to do all of it. In fact, most of it weren't things that they would do. Or similar to the restaurant, which we're not going to get into right now, they would do them with conditions that we would never agree to. Like, we pay them to do it, for example, right? Like, that's not going to happen. We're not going to pay Audubon to come in and do all of our environmental programming. And without that relationship, they wouldn't do it otherwise, unless they just do what they normally do, which is what they've been doing, bird walks once in a while, those sorts of things, for a high fee that goes straight to them. That will continue, and that's what I meant as far as working with DCR and Audubon on their current programming. What does make more sense and what we have been talking about is, I talked about the interns in the spring. Becky Cushing-Gopp, their current director, and I are working towards a shared internship model where we share an intern that responds to both of us. They want to have more of a Northern Berkshire County presence, Mass Audubon does. They'd like a Northern Berkshire County staff person. We could start that with Northern Berkshire County interns that do some work for us and some work for them, not just at the Glen, but for their portion across the communities in the Northern Berkshire area. And hopefully that will allow us to test working together and eventually evolve that into a part-time staff person and maybe even eventually a full-time staff person who's half reporting to us and doing our environmental ed work and half reporting to Audubon and doing their Northern Berkshire County regional work, some at the Glen, some in Savoy and Clarksburg and Williamstown and Lanesboro and North Adams. That's what makes sense. That's what would have made sense to me, and that's what they're thinking makes the most sense for them now. We would have to fundraise half of that staff time. They would have to fundraise the other half. Those are things that are not hard to fundraise for through grants, through different channels of development.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the explanation. Then I feel that we were duped by them because they were going to sign a contract with us. Until we get some contract signed, we don't have the income.
Yeah.
I mean, that was going to be part of how we were going to move forward with through
But they didn't.
contracts. Yeah, they
They didn't, and there's a reason they didn't.
Yeah. Okay, that's all. It's just, we got things to do.
All right, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Danny. We'll go back. The board will return, we're still in a new business, to item A, introduction of Northern Berkshire Educational Collaborative and the new principal of Hoosick Valley Elementary School, Christine Wentz, presented by Superintendent Aaron Dean, and thank you both for your patience. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I was on the road and I
No problem.
just missed a few minutes and could have had an hour back. But that's okay. Just kidding. So thanks for having us here tonight. That was actually great. And actually, I do know where you can get some interns. Yeah. Goes on with our pathways, but it was great to get that overview of all the work that Dan's been doing up there. So Dan came on over the summer, and so did Christine Wentz, new principal of Hoosick Valley Elementary School. She's been through her first few months, learning a lot. I can say collectively, I hear she's a breath of fresh air for the elementary school, doing great work learning about the elementary school, and rather than just talking about her, I'll just let her come up and chat with you.
So thank you for having me. My name's Christine Wentz, I go by Chris. I've been there since July 1st, and like Dan, this year is a big learning year. Getting to learn all the routines, where the snow falls, where we park, where we don't park. There's 379 students at Hoosick Valley Elementary School at this very day. We have approximately 90 staff members that work there every day. Mr. Joe is one of our substitutes. I do have to say a special thank you to our substitutes. And if anyone would like to apply to be a substitute, we are always looking for substitutes. So I would love to put that out there. It has been great getting to know the community as well. I am from West Stockbridge originally, so I am from the Berkshires, familiar with the Berkshires. I went to MCLA, which was North Adams State at the time, a very long time ago. I'm glad to be back and returned to live in the Berkshires now. And it's been a really great experience. The administrative team, Aaron, Kristen Pallett, Monica Zanin, Jackie Daniels have been amazing and supportive. Our administrative team at Hoosick Valley Elementary, Alyssa Rozier, Wendy Lamberton, Marriott Dayhill have been extremely supportive, and they run around that building all day long working with the little kids. So Hoosick Valley is preschool through grade 3. We had added an additional pre-kindergarten classroom. So preschool's 3-year-olds, pre-kindergarten is 4-year-olds getting ready for kindergarten. Last year, the last 2 years, pre-kindergarten and preschool teachers did development on the science of reading, which did show improved skills coming into kindergarten this year. So over the next 2 years, we are in the middle of providing more science of reading training for the kindergarten through grade 3 teachers. We're doing 5 modules this year, 5 modules next year. Alongside with that, we've implemented a new mathematics program called Reveal, and we've done that kindergarten all the way through high school. So it'll be a nice cohesive math program. So the teachers are learning a new math program. So they have some professional development on that. We're looking at our social emotional curriculum and seeing how we can expand on that to support students for regulation, and just there seems to be a lot more trauma for kiddos today, a lot more stressors. So how do we support them? How do we support the families? I will say I find this community in an abundance of support. If you ask someone like, we need support with meals, they're like, oh, contact this person, this person, this person. If you need support with diapers, contact this person, this person. This community is very supportive. Over Thanksgiving, there were many turkey dinners given away from local people, and it was amazing to see that. Upcoming, we have, December 10th, our PTG is going to be doing Give a Gift, which they've done in the past, where the kids go home with a gift for their family. On the 16th of December at 5 o'clock, the art teachers, the elementary, middle, and high school teachers did a collaborative project. And their artwork, the 3rd grade for Hoosick Valley Elementary, is being displayed at the Adams Theater And there'll be a little ceremony, opening ceremony on the 16th at 5 o'clock. So that's really cool to have their artwork displayed. Then on the 18th of December is going to be our Winter Wonderland. It'll be similar. So we had our annual trunk or treat, which it downpoured that evening. But we moved it inside, and actually I think a lot of people we made the first floor, all the people put their trunk decorations and decorated, so they came in through the McDonald's entry, that side, and then they came through the whole first floor and went out the main entrance, and everyone was just it was great. We had a great time. So the Winter Wonderland will work like that too. They'll come through, they'll do some crafts. It'll be a great night. That's from 5 to 6:30 on the 18th. And then we have the half day on the 23rd with no school until January 5th. So it's a really long break this year. But learning the building, learning the staff, learning the kids, and learning the families has just been a real joy to do at this time. And I'm really excited to be here.
Well, it's great to see you. The board, any questions you may have?
Well, I just have some comments. I asked Chris to come in because I think it's people see a name and then see the face. And I have to say, the time I'm up there, she is a kind of, she's everywhere. In other words, if there's a fire in a classroom, she's there. And she just exudes so much, I don't know, just herself, just who she is, and it came out to me, and that, you know, you do your office work, but you certainly are in all of the classrooms and, you know, looking at every aspect of what needs to be done, so kudos.
Thank you.
Continue it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board?
Well, I just want to congratulate you on the position and thank you for coming in front of us today. I'm thankful Joe actually asked for this to be on the agenda because I think this is a nice way for people, yes, to see a face. When you read it in the paper, it's great, but it's nice to be able to hear what's going on at the schools as well. And, you know, the biggest part of our taxes we pay, I always harp on this, is the schools, right? So it's great for people to be able to see, yeah, sorry to pick on the schools, I always do that, but.
It's coming a little early.
Yeah, sorry. But I think it is important for the townspeople to see what's going on at the school and to hear from school officials, and also for us to be able to hear, especially when it comes budget time, what you guys have been doing and what you're looking for as well.
Sure.
So I'd like to thank you for coming in, and it's great to meet you.
Thank you.
I'm really excited that you brought up the artwork display at the Adams Theater. I got to see that today. I don't think it's complete yet, but I was setting up for an event that's being held there tomorrow, and I was so proud and so excited to see that the artwork of our students is on the wall. And 200 of my closest friends will also get to see it tomorrow as well. So I'm happy to be telling them that it's from Hoosick Valley Elementary.
Yeah, great.
And I hope I get an invite to the unveiling.
You are all invited.
Okay.
Absolutely. You're all invited to come to the school, walk through the school, see the kids, anytime. I mean, just, you know, you'll get an eyeful, but it's an experience and it's fun to watch the kids.
Right. Thanks, Chris.
I have a friend that is working at the school. She had left for where it went somewhere else, and I talked to her and I said, well, how do you like being back? She says, I love it, and I love the people I'm working with. So you're setting a good example, and I want to say, as a North Adams State graduate myself, thank you for what you do.
I'm one too. It was North Adams State.
Another one.
Another one?
Yeah.
I got a degree from MCO.
Very good, very good.
Place.
If I just may read some facts, and this will tell us what is really going on. They're sober facts, but they're real. And this was about your pre-K when you wanted, you know, now you're in a spot where can we continue it with funding and things. But these were interesting to me. The school district qualified for the grant, that was the grant for the pre-K, because it is considered high needs. In Adams and Cheshire, 67% of the students are considered high needs, with 58.1% of students from low-income families and 25.6% with disabilities. So that's what the construct we're working in. And I've always said that teachers are the backbone of education, but I've got to shout out, we have great paraprofessionals.
Oh, yes.
They're doing things that you have to have a heart for that kind of thing with disability people. You got to be the right person, and we have a lot of them. And I go out of my way every time I see one and, you know, try to make their day, because I believe they're God's children.
They truly are.
Yeah.
And we have many of them.
Yeah.
And they are the people who work on the ground with the children. And, I mean, they're changing diapers, they're changing clothes, they're helping the students who can't access the curriculum. They're helping the teacher just empty folders, or they're supporting the education for the students, and they're supporting the teachers with the work the teachers need to do. So they're constantly moving and shifting, and then, you know, with absences and sick time, they're constantly filling in. Many of them fill in for teachers. They're very capable. They do it. They don't complain. They're there to work with the kids, and it's really a pleasant place to be.
To wrap it up, I was going to ask if we do receive communications from, for example, the Bard School, because we're on some kind of a listserv or whatever it may be. But like the art show, I didn't know about that. Maybe my fault, but I was wondering if you could get our email addresses, included the five of us at the big events that are public, and feel free to give you a call. if
Do
you'd
a
like to
weekly
set-
newsletter.
Okay, I'd like to see that, too.
We can put that out.
If you
And
include
at the
us,
bottom are all the dates of things coming up.
that'd be great. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right.
And Mr. Dean, you have a few minutes to talk about the collaborative?
Hi, Karen. Tough act to follow. So, as Mr. Meswar brought up the budget, that's okay. It's a reality, right? It's what we do.
Unfortunately.
You know, we're also looking at ways to make ourselves sustainable long-term. And when you look at Northern Berkshire County, we're all dealing with declining enrollment, declining resources in a lot of ways, and in a similar set of challenges, I'll say, in terms of the student body, the needs, and all of those pieces. So after a couple of years of discussion that was led by Carol over there, in a lot of ways, we finally got a group together to start talking about where we're going to go long-term, potential regionalization, other potential ways that we can work together. North Adams and I have done some work sharing positions that would typically be part-time, but you can't get part-time people to fill some of these positions like athletic director and things like that. So we've created things like the shared athletic director, we share data specialists, and things like that. And that's, a small start, but it doesn't really get us too far down the road in terms of becoming more viable economically. So a group of us now, the Northern Berkshire School Union, North Adams Public Schools, Mount Greylock, and Hoosick Valley have now gotten a group together. We're called the Northern Berkshire Educational Collaborative. It's kind of naturally gotten to that point. And each of us has 2 representatives at the table, plus the superintendent. And we started the discussion about having a study. And what are we going to do on the road? Without data, without some kind of set of facts of what your options are and what you have and common needs, you really can't make decisions. Representative Barrett has stepped up, gotten us an earmark for $100,000, call it seed money, to get the process going. And right now, that group that I just talked about is working on two things. An RFP for the study, what we're going to study and what that's going to look like. And also decided what the construction of the steering committee is going to be once we get the RFP and the study in place. So right now, we're looking at things like shared services as a possibility. Regionalization, more on the secondary level, because I think as we look at things, we're all pretty viable on the elementary level. It's the secondary programming that kind of stretches us thin. There are more options. You mentioned BART, there's McCann, plus there are 3 other high schools. And these 3 high schools, if you put them together, you could probably have 1 graduating class. So we're duplicating a lot of work. Hoosick Valley recently became an innovation pathways school. We've got 7 pathways there, one of them being healthcare. That just got replicated in North Adams at Drury. So we're all replicating this work, and there are a lot of opportunities for us to say, hey, what can we do on the secondary level to pull things together, to really look at what it is we offer kids and make our money go further. Education is always going to be expensive. It's probably always going to be the top bill in town. Sorry, that's just the fact. It is what it is. But we've got to really look at how well we're spending our money and how far that money is going. And when you have 2 programs, in separate towns, they really could be 1 program when you're looking at population, enrollment, and things like that. You've got to start making decisions that are for the greater good. So this study is kind of about that, looking at what we all have for facilities, what we all have for programming, and what are the possibilities if we put things together in certain different ways. At the end of this, we might find that regionalization isn't an option or the best option. We might find that shared services in certain areas, like a special education collaborative, could be an option. We all share, special education programming needs and a lack of staff to meet those needs, and we're all trying to help each other out in different ways. So a collaborative might be a way for us to work with those severe needs programming options that we're looking for. So essentially, this study is going to tell us, what we have, or take what we have and say, here are a few different models that you can look at to do better in terms of what you're providing for kids. So the first phase will be, here's some models. The group that we talked about is going to have 4 representatives from each entity. So from our entity, we have the chair of the school committee. We're looking for another Adams rep and 2 Cheshire representatives to be part of that process. And each committee is going to have their own 4 like that as part of the steering committee, with the superintendents being there in an advisory role, not in a voting role, to really look at, once we get this study, what's phase 2? Where do we want to go next in terms of further exploration? Do we want to look at a big regional? Do we want to look at a regional high school? Do we want to look at regionally from 6 through 12 for all of these communities? So really just digging deeper into that. And when we get to phase 2, that will be a big piece of getting community input and things like that. So first, we're going to see how far our $100,000 takes us, because we're also going to have to go down the road. Something like this probably long-term will cost $750,000 by the time you get through the studies, get through the phases, work with the consultants, and do all of that work, to where you get to a point where it's like, this is exactly what we're doing, and get the towns to vote on it and determine, are we regionalizing, are we doing a collaborative, are we doing something totally out of the box? So, that's kind of where the work is taking us right now. We have another meeting coming up on Tuesday, the 8th, in North Adams. It is open to folks if they want to come see where the discussions are going around the request for proposals and just get a sense of what the discussions are. I will say the group, I'm a little bit surprised by this, pleasantly surprised. The group has really come to the table like ready to have discussions about what we can do together, because I think we're all seeing the same types of things. It's getting harder to come up with the resources, you know, in communities like ours that are just big enough but just small enough, the state funding and state aid doesn't quite get us there. So it puts a lot of weight on the towns, and, you know, it's an important investment, you know. We're trying the best we can to do what we can with what we've got. And if we can do more by working together, I think that's important for us to consider.
Okay, all right, so I'd like to start off by thanking Representative John Barrett for obtaining the funding, working that. A special thank you to Carol Cushionetti, I got your name right, hopefully, who really, you had the idea to begin this whole process, and you brought people together, and you were able to work to make the funding happen and get this whole process off the ground. So thank you. Adams is only, Carol Cushionetti, who was very highly involved in the start off of this whole process, which we definitely feel we all need. Everyone understands that we need to do something with our Northern Berkshire schools, where the graduating classes are getting smaller, the population is getting smaller, and we've known that for several years now, and it's coming. It's already happened. So I'm glad this process is happening. Just the only question I have for you is that I did see Mayor Maxey from North Adams indicate to her council that, you know, whoever wants to be part of this process, to give your name, and, you know, I know this, right now, the first phase is a school-related project, and then eventually we'll all get involved.
Yeah.
The town of Adams, the Board of Selectmen, the town meeting, and our community will be there at some point, involved in all this. So nothing's gonna happen without a lot of discussion and voting and things like that. So, but the process that they used from North Adams was a little bit different than, I think, what you've used for the Hoosick Valley.
So we really haven't gotten it, it's gonna be the same.
Eventually the
It's just-
same?
It's just they got in front of everybody, but
Yeah,
it's a little different with the municipality versus the regional.
Right,
You know,
okay.
at this point in time, we have a long enough runway where I can come to the meeting, talk about this process, and say that we're gonna be putting out and looking for members to be part of this. One of them is gonna have to be our school committee chair, because that person needs to be at the table and understanding and bringing that information back. That person happens to be from Adams at this point in time. So if we're looking equally, then we would look for one more Adams person, which could be municipal, could be community-based, and we would be looking for 2 from Cheshire as well. So that's something that we've got to put out there. I've had a discussion with the chair about, you know, taking that step and doing that.
Okay, so that will be put out there for anyone who's interested to at least apply.
Yeah.
To be that position, okay.
Yeah, and we will obviously see what we get and kind of work to make a good decision from there. But this RFP process is gonna be completed with the group that we have right now. So we're gonna put out their request, and when we get the study back, that's when you would bring in the steering committee. And we call it the non-statutory steering committee, because there's a statutory version that you could put together, but you'd have like 30 people at the table, and it just didn't seem like a logical option at this point in time. And it's still gonna work the same way. The group is still gonna look at it, make decisions, vote on things, how we're gonna move down the road, and bring it back to the communities for discussion, you know, and nothing's gonna go anywhere until communities vote on, you know, this is what we support, and this is the direction we're going to go.
Okay, thank you. And our process, just to reiterate, is very similar to North Adams. This process of getting these individuals as part of this committee. Okay, I'm gonna send it down for the board members. Anyone have any questions for Superintendent Dean?
Just, it's very encouraging that the 4 entities have come together and having the conversation, and it's not just, 2 of the entities having the conversation. So that's really encouraging and exciting that you're doing that. And I know that we talk a lot about, the burden on residents and our residents who are on fixed incomes, but we also sometimes just, I don't think it's a loud enough voice at the table sometimes, but our employers who are trying to recruit workforce in the area, they're coming back to us and they're saying that some of the issues are, yes, Massachusetts is, like, the cost of living in Massachusetts is high, and it is in Berkshire County as well, with limited resources. But the other piece is, the education system. Those are the decisions that people are making before they move to an area. They're looking at the cost of living and they're looking at the education systems. And if we can have a stronger educational system for our area, for our community, and if that's what you're studying, to figure out how we can do this maybe more efficiently and better, and whatever that may look like, I'm really excited to see what the results are, because I think it'll help us long-term recruit more workforce here in the area.
Yeah, and I would say also a big part of that workforce is finding a teacher
I know.
workforce, right? So we're all struggling to fill certain positions and certain needs, and by coming together, we can utilize a more efficient staff
Yeah.
in a way that makes sense, and probably fill a lot of those holes that we can't fill in 5 places, but we could fill in 1.
And I think, you mentioned some of the places where you've had some success with shared services and shared positions with North Adams, and, I commend you for, going down that path and putting those things in place. I know it wasn't easy.
No.
You still have the scars, but
Yeah,
you're still standing there, and
I'm still
I
standing.
appreciate
still
it.
here. Still committed.
Hasn't gone unnoticed.
Appreciate that.
First off, I'd like to thank you for all the work that you're doing, Superintendent, and all the people that got this coming off the ground floor. I think it's really important that, as John did, thank State Rep John Barrett for the earmarked money to start this process. I think without that, I'm not sure where we would be if we're just still chatting about it, but I think that's absolutely huge that we're getting some of that money to start this, even though it will cost in the long run. I think not necessarily a question, I think the thing that I'm very encouraged about, as Christine kind of put it, is the fact that groups are coming together and everyone's staying very open-minded about this, because we don't know what this study is going to show. It could show that we're doing fine and it's great. It could show that things need to change drastically. We don't know. But for the fact that 4 districts are coming together, all saying, all right, let's see what the options are here. I think that's really important. And I think I'd like to thank the school committees for giving their districts the opportunity, the superintendents for staying open-minded, and the public for waiting this out. And hopefully it's encouraging what the study will show long-term. And hopefully everyone will be satisfied with whatever the decisions that are made, and it'll only benefit us all in the future. So I'd like to commend you for all the work that you're doing, and everyone that's involved with the process, because much needed, and hopefully we get the results that we're looking for with this.
Yeah, I'd like to say it's the way that we have to go in time, but there's so much involved when you start meshing things together. It isn't just, we have in this area protective, good example is when we had to close Cheshire School and the elementary school came here, and it started a rift, and I think it's subsiding with time. Usually things subside, but I'm just putting that out there because, I don't know, a lot of schools are proud of who they are, and, you start finagling with them, and then you're gonna get, a lot of blowback, but it has to happen. And what I think right now is very disappointing and upsetting, we don't really know the direction of public education with our administration. And until we can realize what's going to be done, how it's going to be done, if the burden is thrown onto each state, I don't know how it will work. I don't think people making the decisions know either, other than they're boisterous, yeah, we don't need public education. So it's just gonna be complicated. And one thing I've also noticed that when when the building committees for the state, I mean, they're giving out money and people are building new portions of their school and upgrading them, who's gonna wanna give that up, you know? So you'd have to integrate all of the 4 schools in a reasonable manner with probably varying things. I don't know how to do it. I mean, this is what you're studying, and there's just so much complexity in that kind of thing that's going on, you know, with busing and, you know, everything that goes along with changing, because that's just the way I feel, but I'm glad to see that you're beginning this, because I believe it's long overdue with the demographics and the graduating classes we have, and I don't think I can foresee anything that will come in this immediate area that will, you know, be like a Sprague Electric or something like that, because, you know, I think that era's over, and that's why I believe we're banking on a tourist industry, because we have, you know, in our backyard, but I wish you well on that, and it's gonna be a lot of soul searching.
Yeah, I mean, and this is not something that's gonna happen overnight.
Right.
We're talking like a 3 to 5 year process. And essentially, a new regional district might be my retirement gift. Quite honestly, I'll certainly be ready at the end of that. But no, I mean, it's something that, you're right, it's complex. We've got to approach it with grace and in respect for each of the communities, and make sure that all of the voices are part of this process. At the end of the day, it's probably not going to be perfect. Not everybody's going to like exactly what we come up with, probably, but if we do a good job of building buy-in, having voice in this process, you know, it should come out being a much better system for everybody in North Berkshire.
Okay, Ann, anything?
I think we've already seen in our sports programs how this can work,
Yes.
because who would have thought that Adams, Drury, Mount Greylock would be the football team?
Yeah.
And it's being
true.
supported, and I think this shows people that the communities can work together to make progress, and what's more important than their sports. And it's working with, I think in lacrosse, they have it, I know some of the programs go through McCann's.
Yeah, so we have co-ops in lacrosse with North Adams and Greylock, although Greylock is starting their own lacrosse program. We have co-ops with McCann and Drury for track and cross country. We have co-op with Drury for golf. We have the co-op you mentioned for football. We co-op with Greylock for wrestling.
Yep.
We co-opt with Drury for volleyball, starting a new program that actually it was well received and was great. So you're right, the work already is working. We're looking at how can we have quality programs for our kids and good experiences, because when we were looking at our numbers for like football in particular, we were putting kids in unsafe positions.
Yep.
9th graders on a field with a 12th grader, that's a big difference. So we have had success with that and other areas that we're doing work. We're talking about doing more with special education already. So it's just finding those common challenges and saying, hey, like, we need to use one another because they're all our kids.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Aaron, and please keep us up to date over time.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, thank you.
I'll be seeing you soon.
Yes?
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, budget.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so we're done with new business, and now we're going to move on to licensing. I want to hand this over to Holly, any overview, and then we'll start to begin our decision-making.
We first have a single license application for wine and malt for the Bounty Fair to serve at the Adams Theater, 27 Park Street in Adams, Mass. On December 5th from 6 to 11.
What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve a one-day wine and malt license application for the Bounty Fair to serve at the Adams Theater, 27 Park Street, Adams, Mass. on December 5th, 2025, from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Motion by Ann, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Jay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. Okay, now moving on to the annual licensing renewals.
So this letter is to advise the board that the following license applications have been received, reviewed, and deemed complete, including the necessary attachments. And the list is before you.
We do have one caveat, though, right, when we do make our motions?
Yes, that any applicable taxes must be paid prior to the license being picked up.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go through these license yearly renewals, and we have them broken out by different sections as we do every year. So we'll put a motion on the floor and any discussion, and then we'll go from there. So Ann, could you please get us started?
Okay. I make a motion for the all alcoholic package store licenses contingent on payment of taxes. They are Ani Liquor doing business as O'Jerry's Package Store, 60 Commercial Street, Adams, Mass. Maha Oasis Liquors Incorporated doing business as Oasis Liquor Store, 35 Spring Street, Adams, Mass. Abednik LLC doing business as Val's Pipe and Package, 5 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass.
So we have a motion by Ann. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Christina. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No abstentions, unanimous decision. Moving on to wine and malt package store licenses.
I make a motion that we approve wine and malt package store licenses contingent on payment of taxes. They are 7-Eleven, 223 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass. Tribe Petroleum Incorporated, 160 Holland Avenue, Adams, Mass. Adams Hometown Market, 11 Myrtle Street, Adams, Mass.
Motion by Ann, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Christina, any discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to know what's going on with 7-Eleven. I mean, the person purchased it, is that correct? And I go down there often, and the people are kind of in limbo there. They don't really know what's going on. They haven't heard from the gentleman, and I was just wondering, has any of us heard anything about that?
We haven't been officially,
No, okay, because it,
Just through the licensing.
I reached out in between this licensing process
Yeah.
because I was here for the transfer that we attempted
Yeah.
to do that didn't go through properly. And in the meantime, when I sent out my letters for the annual license renewal, the original email that I had actually went to the 7-Eleven LLC of Massachusetts. And they responded and asked so I actually set up the representative of the 7-Eleven franchise and the lawyer of the new purchased owner, and they had whatever their discussion was, and my response from that was the franchise is doing the liquor license renewal. As far as the owner, I haven't heard anything more from that section of it, but the license will be under the franchise.
it's not a liquor license, it's just wine and malt, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, right, it's just that, a lot of people down there really haven't heard anything since it was purchased.
Yeah,
And
that
there-
I don't know of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and there's
as far as
conjecture and all this
this
stuff, so that's the only reason I asked if anybody heard anything, because the employees haven't heard anything. And,
They must have sent to that.
yeah, okay,
all right? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions, unanimous decision. The first one we did for the audience was all alcohol package store licenses. Now we're on to 3 under licensing, which is all alcohol establishments. What is the board's pleasure? Ann?
I'll make a motion for the all alcohol establishments contingent on payment of taxes, and they are Nicholas Enterprises Incorporated, doing business as the Bounty Fair Restaurant, 200 Holland Avenue, Adams, Mass. AJ's Trailside Pub, 1214 Pleasant Street, Adams, Mass. Forest Park Country Club, 41 Forest Park Avenue, Adams, Mass. The Adams Turners Incorporated, 6 Turners Avenue, Adams, Mass. Jabriggs Varane, ABA Mountain Club, 6 Anthony Street, Adams, Mass. The Adams Post 160 Incorporated, the American Legion of Massachusetts, 160 Forest Park Avenue, Adams, Mass. And Pine Brook Pub LLC, 128 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass.
Motion by Ann, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Christine, any discussion?
When do people have to have finalized? December 31st? Is that how it runs? So you're to get your new license? So if people, because we're talking about haven't paid their taxes, is there anybody within the parameters of these 3, 1, 2, or 3 that haven't brought their taxes forward, haven't paid their taxes? Do you know? And I just wonder how long they have.
Do you know?
Okay.
To answer your question, it is December 31st.
Yeah,
So their
right.
current license runs
Do-
through December
Right,
31st.
that's right. So they,
1/1.
yeah, so they have time to pay. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Well,
Yep.
that's what I wanted to know because
Because
All
this
right.
would be for
Yeah.
January 1st.
I get it. So there's no
Yep.
need to worry now until it gets closer to the deadline.
Yeah.
Okay.
They just can't
Yeah,
operate.
right, that's right.
They can't sell alcohol.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Any abstentions? No. Unanimous decision. Moving on to 4, which is the wine and malt establishments.
I'll make a motion that we approve the wine and malt establishments that are contingent on payment of taxes. They are Bascom Lodge Group LLC, 1 Summit Road, Adams, Mass. Lee's Dynasty Asian Fusion, 131 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass. Stacy's Varellas DBA Pizza House, 26 Hoosick Street, Adams, Mass.
Motion by Ann, do we have a second?
I will second, but I'm going to ask for an amendment to the motion.
Okay, second by Christine.
So typically, Bascom Lodge is pending an inspection because they can't be inspected until the spring because they close for 6 months. So I would ask that the motion also say contingent upon or pending an inspection for Bascom Lodge.
Okay, so we're going to do it the right way. So we have a motion to amend the motion
Yes.
for Bascom's Lodge. And you haven't heard anything specifically, Jordan, from Bascom Lodge? That's anything different than what we're talking about?
No.
Okay. And we have a second for Christine's request for the amendment?
I'll second.
Second by Jay Mez. Any further discussion on the amendment?
Yeah, I was just wondering, because Bascom Lodge is a seasonal, we can say it's a seasonal license, do they get deferment of payment for the time they're not open, or they have to pay the pat price?
They've always applied for a full license, not a seasonal.
Okay, so, but is there such a thing as a seasonal license?
There is,
Okay, should
But-
make it known to them perhaps, because,
they've had the choice, and as far as I know, they've always gone for this full license, and at this point, it's a renewal, so they would have to go with what they've had in the past, is my understanding from the ABCC. So any change would be a new license that they would have to then go for.
okay, yeah.
All right,
Bring it to the attention of the owner.
any further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. So the amendment passes. Now back to the original motion for the approval of the wine and malt establishments as identified by Ann in her motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, none, unanimous decision. Next are the Sunday entertainment licenses.
So I will just also point out that Bascom Lodge is in this group as well, so I don't know if you want to pull that out separately or still do them as a group. But it should be pending an inspection in the spring. I believe for the Sunday entertainment, weekly entertainment, and their common vic.
And you can say that Ann in your original motion, so we can keep it as one, along with others, everyone paying their taxes.
I'll make a motion for the Sunday entertainment licenses contingent on payment of taxes. They are Adams Turners Incorporated, 6 Turners Avenue, Adams, Mass., before 1 p.m. AJ's Trailside Pub, 12 to 14 Pleasant Street, Adams, Mass., before 1 p.m. Gabrig's Varine, DBA Mountain Club, 6 Anthony Street, Adams, Mass., before 1 p.m. Original Seed, 32 North Summer Street, Adams, Mass., before 1 p.m. Adams Post, number 160 Incorporated, the American Legion of Massachusetts, 160 Forest Park Avenue, Adams, Mass., before 1 p.m. The Greylock Glen Outdoor Center, 165 Gould Road, Adams, Mass., before 1 p.m. Nicholas Enterprises Incorporated, doing business as Bounty Fair, 200 Holland Avenue, Adams, Mass., after 1 p.m. The Bascom Lodge Group LLC, 1 Summit Road, Adams, Mass., after 1 p.m. And the Adams Theater, 27 Park Street, Adams, Mass., after 1 p.m.
Okay, with the Bascom Lodge, we want to add to your motion, pending inspection in the spring.
I will make a motion to add to the Bascom Lodge Group LLC, 1 Summit Road, Adams, Mass., after 1 p.m., also dependent on passing inspection,
Okay, as part of the original motion.
as part of the original motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Christine. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, may I just go back to,
On unanimous decision. Go
yeah,
ahead, Joe.
just out of curiosity, under 3, I know Forest Park Country Club is seasonal, because they're closed. Are they paying full?
They do.
Okay, they're paying
Oh,
full, okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Now we are under the weekly entertainment licenses.
I'll
And
make,
we also have, I'm sorry, we also have as under I, the Bascom Lodge, as Christine has mentioned.
okay.
Okay?
I'll make a motion for the weekly entertainment licenses, that they are contingent on payment of taxes for AJ's Trailside Pub, 12 to 14 Pleasant Street, Adams, Mass. Adams Theater, 27 Park Street, Adams, Mass. The Adams Post 160 Incorporated, the American Legion of Massachusetts, 160 Forest Park Avenue, Adams, Mass. Forest Park Country Club, 41 Forest Park Avenue, Adams, Mass. The Greylock Glen Outdoor Center, 165 Gould Road, Adams, Mass. The Adams Turners Incorporated, 6 Turners Avenue, Adams, Mass. Gerbrig's Marine, AB doing business as the Mountain Club, 6 Anthony Street, Adams, Mass. Nicholas Enterprises Incorporating, doing business as the Bounty Fair, 200 Holland Avenue, Adams, Mass. The Bascom Lodge Group LLC, 1 Summit Road, Adams, Mass. Also pending on inspection along with the contingent payment of taxes. In Original Seed, 32 North Summer Street, Adams, Mass. And Pinebrook Pub LLC, 128 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass.
So the Bascom Lodge Group would be relying on inspection in the spring. Is that what you indicated?
She did.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Christine. Any discussion?
Just really quick, same thing with the Sunday entertainment licenses. I'm glad to see the Greylock Glen Outdoor Center listed on here. I think, with all the entertainment and the programming we're gonna have up there, I think it's really important that we had that taken care of. So I think it's the first time we probably had a municipal building on here, so I think it's a good step, and thanks, Dan, for including them in there.
Thank you, Holly and Jordan, for nudging.
Good teamwork.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Unanimous decision. I was wondering, Christine, could you just go over what the next is common vic licenses. Could you just do a brief overview of what those are?
Sure, you're quizzing me?
No, just for
no.
the general public, our friends.
Yeah, so it's really anybody who is working with food, but also has seating available for their patrons.
All right, thank you.
That's the very general overview.
Very good.
bullet
Okay.
point.
Thank you. Succinct.
Yeah, we also have the Bascom Lodge listed here.
Yes.
Okay, what is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion for the common victual licenses that are contingent upon payment of taxes AJ Trailside Pub, 1214 Pleasant Street, Adams, Mass. Forest Park Country Club, 41 Forest Park Avenue, Adams, Mass. Adams Turners Incorporated, 6 Turners Avenue, Adams, Mass. Stacy Varellis, doing business as the Pizza House, 26 Hoosick Street, Adams, Mass. Gerbriggs Lorraine, doing business as Mountain Club, 6 Anthony Street, Adams, Mass. Cheese Chinese Cuisine Incorporated, 13 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass. Nicholas Enterprises, doing business as Bounty Fair, 200 Howland Avenue, Adams, Mass. The Bascom Lodge Group LLC, 1 Summit Road, Adams, Mass. Also will depend on the inspection, along with the contingent payment of taxes. Adams Post 160 Incorporated, the American Legion of Massachusetts, 160 Forest Park Avenue, Adams, Mass. Lee's Dynasty Asian Fusion, 131 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass. Angelina's Sub Shop, 34.5 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass. Coffin Liberation Front, 1 Park Street, Adams, Mass. Petroleum Incorporated, 160 Howland Avenue, Adams, Mass. Original Seed, 32 North Summer Street, Adams, Mass. Gomez Enterprises, doing business McDonald's, 2 Commercial Street, Adams, Mass. BAPA, 170 Columbus Street, Donuts LLC, doing business as Dunkin' Donuts, 177 Columbus Street, Adams, Mass. Pine Brook Pub LLC, 128 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass. M&J's Taste of Home, 53 Park Street, Adams, Mass. Adams Theater, 27 Park Street, Adams, Mass. Daily Grind, 37 Park Street, Adams, Mass. Rainbow Shack, 85 Summer Street, Adams, Mass. Adams Pie Incorporated, doing business as Domino's Pizza, 80 Summer Street, Adams, Mass.
Motion by Ann, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Christine, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous decision. Moving on to, we have 2 more to go. Number 8, auto sales licenses.
I make a motion for the auto sales licenses pending contingent on paying of taxes. Alternative Motors of Adams Incorporated, 69 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass. Alternative Motors of Adams Incorporated, 74 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass. Jeans Sales and Service, 108 Holland Avenue, Adams, Mass. Maple Grove Equipment, 8 Leonard Street, Adams, Mass. Haddad GMC, 224 Columbia Street, Adams, Mass. Ronnie's Cycle Sales and Service Incorporated, 150 Holland Avenue, Adams, Mass. Ronnie's Cycle Sales and Service Incorporated, 63 Alger Street, Adams, Mass. And B&B Micro Manufacturing Incorporated, 201 Holland Avenue, Adams, Mass.
Motion by Ann, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just D, Maple Grove, it's Adams, MS, Mississippi. You get it, should be an A, yeah.
All right, so we'll have that corrected. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous decision. And finally, the inn holders and lodging licenses.
Just a note that Bascom Lodge is in this group, too.
I make a motion for the inn holders and lodging licenses contingent on the payment of taxes. The Bascom Lodge Group LLC, 1 Summit Avenue, Adams, Mass. for lodging, which would also be dependent on their getting their inspection. The Trail, 10 Pleasant Street, Adams, Mass. lodging. The Revival House, 17 Commercial Street, Adams, Mass. lodging.
Motion by Ann, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Christine, any discussion?
Just noticing that Mount Royal Inn is not on the list.
They will be applying as a new establishment the first of the year. They are under new ownership, and they will be changing their name.
Great.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that you informed the rest of the group.
Yeah, we had trouble with
Thanks.
them before.
Any final discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. Is there anyone else other than that hotel that has not provided paperwork from last year?
The Reds Viking Pub did not,
Right,
and other than that, this is everybody.
all right, good to hear. All right, we have, that's it for licenses. We have,
Mr. Chairman, before you move on, I just wanted to thank Jordan for her work She started in this role and was thrown into licensing, and she handled it efficiently, with a lot of grace, and I think it was a very smooth process. I don't know if it was as smooth for you as it was for the businesses, but it seemed like everybody was able to.
I feel like it was good, and I
Good.
even hand-delivered some and helped people fill them out at their establishments, so if they didn't have to leave, if they didn't have someone to, cover their shift.
Yeah.
So, we did good.
I appreciate how accommodating you were, and I also just wanted to thank Tylea, who started the process as well. So, but you took it and ran with it. Thank you very much for doing it.
Yeah, and Jordan, I hope they gave you a free beer or something while you were filling it out for them, you know?
No drink.
Oh, okay.
Said maybe I'll come back for a coffee.
All right, there you go.
Not on work time either.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ann, for reading these off this evening.
No problem.
Just a request to the town administrator that the board could receive, and when you get that, a list of all of how many licenses we do have in regards to all alcohol and for malt and wine, or wine and malt, to see what the town has for availability.
It's the
Yeah.
quota.
You have
Yeah, I
that?
printed it out. That's all I have downstairs.
Oh, you do have that information, great.
Yep.
I'd like to see where we
Yeah, I
are.
was gonna ask the same question.
Yep,
See if we're maxed out or we got some.
No, we have some.
Yeah, I know we do.
awesome.
And we're returning one.
Yeah.
Well, one returned to us, I should say.
Okay. Communication, the first one, A, resignation of Emergency Management Director, Amalio Giussino, is that how we say that name? Mm-hmm. Okay. Holly?
So I am writing to inform the board that Amalio Giussino formally submits his resignation from the position as Emergency Management Director for the town of Adams, effective January 1st, 2026. In his letter, he thanked the board and the team for the opportunity to serve the town. He is committed to assisting with the transition to ensure a smooth handover of responsibilities and providing guidance along into the future as the chairman for the NBREPC. He stated, "My decision to step down stems from a desire to focus my efforts on a broader regional level where I can more effectively support preparedness and planning initiatives that also benefit the town of Adams. While I will no longer serve as the local emergency management director, I will continue to remain actively involved in regional coordination efforts, ensuring that Adams remains well-connected and supported. I believe this change will ultimately strengthen both local and regional emergency management capabilities. I will coordinate with staff to identify and bring forward a proposed replacement for the emergency management director."
All right, any questions? Next, we have B, Town Hall holiday hours and closures.
So I have another memorandum to let you know that due to scheduled staff vacations, the town hall offices will be closed on Friday, December 26, 2025. Staff will be using their accrued leave time to cover the day. So I've also given you the upcoming holiday hours. Wednesday, December 24th, the Town Hall and the Council on Aging will be open 8 to 12 that day. On Wednesday, the 24th, the library will be open from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday, December 25th, Christmas Day, the Town Hall, Council on Aging, and library will be closed. On Friday, December 26th, the Town Hall will be closed, the Council on Aging will be open 8 to 12, and the library will be open 10 to 5. The library is also open on Saturday from 10 to 1 on the 27th.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Just, thank you very much for the announcement of the hours. As we move forward, and, we can let Nick know, with the Greylock Glen Outdoor Center also being a public facility that is forward-facing, it would be good to have those hours listed here as well. So I know that that's still up in the air. Like, this is the first year that that's all a thing. So like, I'm just saying, like, for,
Yes.
like, next year, like, it would be good to have that all in one place, because it is a municipal building. These are, it should be communicated as one voice and as all as one. So I'm not knocking this year. I'm just saying, like, that's something we can aspire to for next year.
Not here as in the meeting, or?
Just,
on the town
like,
website?
Town website, but like in a memorandum that lists all of the town facilities, municipal facilities for our public-facing buildings. That's all.
Okay.
Just a suggestion, but thank you.
And the last item is appreciation of volunteers from the Town of Adams Board of Selectmen. Again, you had something?
This is from the Board of Selectmen dated December 3rd, 2025. Thank you to all our volunteers. The Board of Selectmen would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to all the volunteers who give their time and talent to support our town. Your hard work, dedication, and community spirit are what make this a wonderful place to live. From serving on committees to helping at local events and lending a hand wherever it is needed, your contributions make a real difference every day. We are truly grateful for all that you do and the example you set through your service. Thank you for being the heart of our community.
Okay. Any discussion? We heard a lot about volunteers this evening, and thank you all. All right, that's all we have for this evening. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make
So
a-
moved. Oh,
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Motion by Ann, and we have a second by Christine. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. This meeting has concluded.